All right, ready to dive in? Today we're tackling the legend of Pepe. You know, the supposed lake monster of Lake Pepin, Minnesota.
A lake monster in the Mississippi.
Yeah, right? Seems a little out there.
Well, Lake Pepin is kind of unique. It's not just any lake. It's actually part of the Mississippi River, just a really wide part, like over 20 miles long and up to 60 feet deep in places.
Wow, so it's basically one of the biggest natural lakes on the whole Mississippi. Crazy. And a total tourist spot, not exactly the creepy monster hideout you'd imagine.
I know, right? But that's what makes this so interesting. We've got these old Native American stories, tons of eyewitness accounts, even some scientific theories trying to explain it all.
So, where do we even begin with a mystery like this?
Well, we have to go way back, before European settlers even arrived. The Dakota people, who are native to the area, they already had stories about this uh, large, like a serpent kind of creature living in the lake.
And not just spooky stories to tell around the campfire, right?
No, these were more than that. The Dakota people saw this creature, or maybe multiple creatures, as powerful, almost like spirits, maybe even protectors of the lake.
Wow, so there's this element of respect, even reverence, tied to the legend right from the start. That's fascinating. But how did these stories morph into the whole Pepe thing we know today?
Well, as European settlers started showing up in the 18th and 19th centuries, they heard these stories from the Dakota people.
Hmm.
And then, get this, some of them claimed to see the creature themselves. So legend kept growing.
You know what's interesting? It seems like lake monster stories were all the rage back then. I mean, look at Nessie over in Scotland. Everyone was fascinated by these mysterious creatures hiding in the depths.
Oh, absolutely. But the Pepe legend really started to solidify around the late 1800s. We see more and more reports, and the descriptions start to get really specific, consistent.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. So, are there any sightings that really stand out? Ones that kind of became Pepe's claim to fame?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like in 1871, this steamboat captain, he swore he saw this huge creature over 30 feet long, serpentine, dark colored.
Whoa, that's intense. Imagine seeing that out on the water. That would stick with you.
Right. And then sightings kept happening from the early 1900s onward. It's like each one just added to the legend.
Okay, so the story's been building for centuries. But have there been any really recent sightings, ones that kind of brought the legend into the modern day?
Oh, definitely. In the early 2000s, a guy named Larry Nielsen had a sighting that reignited everything. He even put up a $50,000 reward for proof of Pepe.
Wait, seriously, 50 grand? That's crazy.
I know. And his sighting wasn't the only one. There are all these stories. A fisherman seeing humps, a tourist getting a blurry photo, a whole group of people spotting something dark moving under the water.
So it's not just the number of sightings, it's that they all seem to describe the same thing, right? Whether it's a steamboat captain back in the day or tourists today, it's always this large, dark, serpent-like creature. Pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's that consistency that makes this legend so compelling. But how do we explain it?
Well, let's start with the simplest answer. Could it be a case of mistaken identity? Like maybe people are seeing sturgeon or some other big fish?
Could be. Lake sturgeon get huge, like over 12 feet sometimes. They've got this prehistoric look with bony plates along their bodies and a long snout.
So someone could see that and think, monster, especially in murky water or if they only catch a quick glimpse.
Totally. Especially if you're already expecting to see something unusual. It's like our brains want to fill in the blanks. The power of suggestion.
Okay, so sturgeon could be a contender, but what if it's something completely new? Could Pepe be an undiscovered species?
Now that's where things get really interesting. Scientists are finding new species all the time, even in places that have been explored for ages. Lake Pepin's a pretty unique ecosystem, so who knows?
Okay, so if it's not a sturgeon, what else could it be?
Well, some people think it could be a giant eel, or maybe even a massive salamander, something that fits the size and shape people describe. We hear about similar creatures in other parts of the world, too,
Oh, like what?
like the Lusca in the Caribbean, which is supposed to be this giant octopus squid thing, or Champy in Lake Champlain, another long, serpent-like creature.
So we've got sturgeon, a potential new species, and connections to other lake monster legends. This is getting really interesting. But are there any other theories? Anything a little more, I don't know, unconventional?
Well, there's this one theory. It's a little out there, but some people think Lake Pepin might have these, like, underwater channels connecting it to other bodies of water.
Oh, so secret tunnels for Pepe?
Exactly. It's like a hidden waterway network, so it could come and go without ever being seen. Of course, there's not a ton of evidence for that.
Yeah, it sounds pretty far-fetched. But hey, It's fun to think about. We have to acknowledge the skeptics too, right? The people who think Pepe's just a story, a figment of our imagination.
Right. We humans love a good mystery, and we're great at storytelling. Plus, with all those famous lake monster legends out there like Nessie, it's easy to see how people might interpret things differently on Lake Pepin.
Yeah, like if you're already looking for a monster, you might see one in a log or a wave or even just a really big fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole cultural aspect, how Pepe's become this local icon, especially in places like Lake City.
Oh, yeah. Lake City's really embraced the whole Pepe thing. They've got Pepe burgers, Lake Monster Ale, even Pepe boat tours. It's like Pepe's their unofficial mascot.
It's amazing how a legend can shape a town's identity. And it's great for their economy, too.
It's smart marketing, for sure. They've turned this mystery into a fun, family-friendly attraction. But it's more than that, isn't it? It feels like the people of Lake City genuinely take pride in their lake monster.
Oh, absolutely. Pepe's become a symbol of their history and the natural beauty of the area. Gives them something unique to celebrate.
It's like having a town mascot, but way cooler than just a sports team or something. It's this reminder that there's still mystery in the world, even with all our technology and information overload. But before we get too carried away with the folklore, have there been any actual scientific investigations into Pepe?
Yeah, there have been a few attempts. Back in 2010, the History Channel's Monster Quest show sent a team to Lake Pepin. They had sonar and underwater cameras and everything.
Oh, wow. Did they find anything?
Well, they didn't find anything conclusive. But they did get some weird sonar readings, like big objects moving around down there. Some people think it was Pepe, but others are skeptical.
Man, the plot thickens. But, even if we never find definitive proof, the legend itself is still valuable. It makes us think, ask questions, and remember that we don't know everything about our world.
I agree. There's something really powerful about acknowledging the unknown. It keeps us curious and open to new possibilities.
Exactly. So what about you, listener? What do you think about Pepe? After all we've discussed, the Native American stories, the sightings, the scientific possibilities, what's your verdict? Is Pepe real or just a really good story?
It's up to you to decide. But no matter what you believe, the legend of Pepe shows us that there's still magic and mystery out there, even in places we think we know well.
Love that. But we're not quite done yet. There's one more thought I want to share with you. It's not something that was directly mentioned in the stuff we read, but it's been bugging me this whole time.
Oh, now I'm intrigued. What is it?
So we've talked a lot about Pepe maybe being a brand new species, like a giant eel or something.
Right.
But what if we're thinking about it all wrong? What if Pepe isn't new, but something we already know that's just like changed over time?
Oh, okay. I like where you're going with this.
Right. Like, we know sturgeon can get pretty big,
Yeah,
but what if the ones in Lake Pepin are like super sturgeon?
exactly. What if something about Lake Pepin, like the depth or the food, has caused them to evolve and become even bigger than sturgeon anywhere else?
Whoa. So not a new species, but a population of sturgeon that's just gone, like mega-sized. That would explain those descriptions of a giant serpent-like creature.
Yeah. We don't need a whole new species, just a super evolved version of one we already know. Kind of shows you how adaptable nature can be.
It's mind-blowing. Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in plain sight.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about these deep dives. We started with old stories, looked at eyewitness accounts, and explored all these scientific possibilities.
And still, the mystery of Pepe remains. Super sturgeon, undiscovered species, or just a really good story, it's captured our imaginations.
It reminds us to stay curious, question everything, and embrace the unknown. Who knows what else is out there waiting to be discovered?
So well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into Lake Pepin, we leave you with this. What do you believe? Is something lurking down there?
Keep searching, keep wondering, and never lose that sense of awe. There's a whole world of amazing things out there just waiting to be found.
Thanks for joining us on this Pepe adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.